And also, I would like to say that this meeting is being recorded. And so your participation in the meeting is tantamount to your agreement to be rebroadcast on our YouTube channel. And so we welcome your participation. You know that you stand the chance of becoming a YouTube star in the process. So welcome everybody. It's good to see you all here. Thank you. Let's start with the roll call, please.
Can we do it?
Would you do it for Jenny? Is Jenny on? She's not here. Well, we'll start.
I know she had a meeting.
We'll start without her.
It's gonna.
Present.
Ron?
Here.
I'm here.
Here.
All right. All right, we got a quorum. We're good to go. Let's do the
Nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we've got the minutes to approve. The agenda calls for approval of the minutes from the July 17th meeting. I think my recall is that approving the June minutes last time because they came kind of at the last minute. And so we all had an opportunity to review. By now, are there any comments, additions, changes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. I can do both of them at once, right, Karen? I'll entertain a motion to approve both the June and July COC meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve such minutes.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. So Cindy and Sarah with the second, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we got minutes approved. Oh, and Ginny's on. All right. Hey, welcome, Ginny.
Oh, wait, roll call.
Oh, we do. We do. All right, Ginny, welcome.
Thanks.
Can you lead the roll call vote, please, Sarah?
Sure.
Thank you.
Jerry
Mr. Seiler?
Seiler?
She's gonna do it. All right, go Jenny.
Oh, okay. Jerry Seiler? Sarah Jones? Sally Ricciardi? Marty Oosterbaan and Janine Monroe present with our clerk and Karen Schumann, the rep from the school.
Thank you. All right, so let's move to new business. We've got our 2026 CRC spending discussion. I see some new faces here tonight, and I'm hoping that's why you're here, because we'd like to hear. The spending plan is a statutory animal that's required to do it every year. We file it by December 1st. We're not novices at it, but we're not really good at it yet. We're still trying to figure it out. So one thing we know is important is to get input from the stakeholders in town as to what they would have us invest in on behalf of the businesses that pay the taxes, which is our revenue. And so I'm going to open it up for just kind of general discussion from the floor as to what thinking you've got that you would like to see invested in as far as projects or areas of town or things would be of benefit to the the mute button,
I
please.
just did.
Oh, okay.
John Christ, I live at 918 West Shore, and I'm here on behalf of the Lake Maxinkuckee Association. We are trying to investigate the possibility of doing something in regards to ADA accessible pier, as well as trying to make the lakefront a little bit more accessible. And Fury's here as well, and there may be some others. Apparently there's some trouble with getting the participants in the adaptive class across all the way into boats. And if you would like to elaborate on that.
So I'm on the Mexican Adventure Sailing as well as Lake Association Board. And what we've,
Your name?
Ed Furry, sorry, I'm Ed Furry. I live at 15882 18B Road.
Thank you.
So we've approached the town, the park, I guess, not the town, years ago, asking about getting better access down there to the lake. Comes two-part for me from what I've seen with our adventure sailing program. We use the east part of the park beach, and there's a wall that goes from the upper part down into the sidewalk and then into the water. And the water part has gotten steeper and steeper with erosion. But the wall, we have our sailboats that we have to put ramps up to get down. And so it's rather difficult. But what also I saw with, I didn't really volunteer. I just went and checked out the adaptive water ski clinic. And what was happening with, I noticed there is they're all on wheel, or not all, a lot of them are on wheelchairs. And so when they're down at that east end of the park, they can't get to shade. They can pretty much be on the sidewalk and they can't get into that part of the park unless they start at the beach lodge and go on grass all the way. And we see this with families with strollers as well, where you have to lift the stroller up to get in that part of the park. And the wall there is about as high as these seats. And so what we've been trying to do is get an opportunity to even do our own fundraising with the Adaptive Water Ski Clinic and ourselves, and more recently the Lake Association, to get that wall dropped, which could stay grass going up, just a section of it, basically kind of from, say, the last 20 feet or so. But then that gives us better access down. So the adaptive water skiers can get into the grass. Our sailors can get into the grass. Anyone that is in a wheelchair or with a stroller can get into the grass and into the shade. But then kind of since we've gone after this, the erosion from the water has gotten worse. And so the idea of a dock that could also kind of block off the swimming area from our sailing area and the current courtesy pier would be an adaptive pier. I got just some quick numbers from a friend of mine who is in Florida and builds these docks. And he said, we went through the numbers with him, and a dock with a ramp would be about 50 grand. Those are probably high numbers with what we need, but rounding up high, but then we need a way to attach it to land. And so the big thing with the docks is it's fairly cut and dry. If you look at the docks that Culver has, it'd be that type of a dock, at least 6 feet wide. You probably err on 8 feet wide, and then stable and sturdy. Which I know there was a floating dock that was done years ago with the other pier, but it wasn't to this quality like Culver House. But then the bigger thing that you just need to go after that is how do you get on the dock? And that's just it's a ramp. It's not nothing out there, but it's then the angle, and you just have to meet that angle, and that's easy to meet with just a longer ramp and where you attach it. But you could probably put a wood or concrete station right off the sidewalk. We figure where that one big tree is. It's right off the swimming area. Yep. But anyways, it's an easy place where you could put a platform that you attach this ramp to. So you could, if you're in a wheelchair, you could be in this section before you go onto the ramp and be not blocking the sidewalk. And then you go down onto the ramp. If you look at what Culver has, they have a ramp going onto each one of theirs. And that's really just for water level. We would need a little bit longer ramp, not abnormal, what you see when you go to places where they have a lot of tide. But then we would just need to know what the angle is to be safe for a wheelchair going down.
So this run parallel to here then?
Yes, yeah, so run parallel to the courtesy pier. I figure it'd be maybe not quite as long, but close to that long. I don't know what that length is, but I think we figured either 60, I think we figured 80 feet, just because if you go out in the water, we know it pretty well because of running the sailing program there, it's super shallow and then it drops off. which is actually awesome because if you want to bring a powerboat in to get somebody, you just have to get just past that drop off point, which is probably the last 20 feet of the courtesy pier where it really drops off. And so the idea there, when you then have an apparatus that many companies make that would be there permanently to help assist people to get into a powerboat if that's what they're doing. The other option is just they could be on the pier and get to enjoy the lake from the pier. We were also working with Shake a Leg Miami, which is a program down in Miami that is for all people with abilities. So they have these docks and these different apparatuses to get people in and out of sailboats and powerboats.
So how much space would you have between the courtesy pier?
So
Would
you
there be
go-
boats between there?
Yeah. So I would probably, you'd have 100 feet or more. A
Oh,
lot.
that much.
It's a lot. So there's a big area between the swim area and I could measure it off at some point if you'd like me to. But there's a giant tree. I mean, it's a really big tree that kind of marks the end of the swim area. And the buoys that they put are to the west of that, so towards the beach lodge. And so it would be just to the east of that, so the tree's not in the way. And so you wouldn't damage the tree putting in an anchor point. But then what it would also do is it would separate the swim area from the non-swim area. Because a lot of people do use that section, like we use it. More protected for people coming and going with non-motorized vehicles. But like I would have the handicap pier, ADA pier say no docking, but you can come get somebody on and leave. Where the other pier, the courtesy pier says you can dock for two.
That's what was my thought, was making the current courtesy pier, the ADA pier, but if
The
you don't want to
difficulty
dock.
you have there is the way it goes from pier to land is stairs and then the East Pavilion immediately. And so I think it'd be more work. And you'd also have to remove that pier, which they just redid it.
So would this not be removed? The
No,
ADA?
I mean, you'd have to get rid of it completely. You
Oh,
wouldn't use it
okay.
again.
Yeah,
But where that one's perfectly functional, and just redone, and so it's an asset that you wouldn't want to get rid of. Where this one, you kind of start from scratch and you'd have this nice dock.
nice.
And, but if you look at Culver's docks, they're super stable and they're very nice. And it's not, a friend of mine said Easy Dock is who you go. Easy Dock apparently has discount program for ADA purpose docks. And, it's not something he's even gonna make money on because we'd go straight to there. And you could have anyone that new construction, build them because they're, semi kit. And so you build them to the specs that you need to.
So then would the park put it in, and take it out every year with the other piers, or who would be responsible?
Park would need to probably own it.
And I gotta say, we're on C pier, it's not very stable. It's-
I know a lot of the stability is the depth.
Better than it was. All right.
There was also some other discussion about perhaps putting in a lift for some people too. Rose Workman has said that Braun Abilities might have some interest in helping with that. I know Kevin Dante's had some conversations with some of the state agencies in some way, shape, or form. I'm not sure to what extent about some of the needs or sources or whatever. I haven't spoken with Kevin on that in probably a month or more. Part of the concern that the Lake Association has is our funding, which is totally dependent upon membership and dues, and our visibility and the services that we're trying to provide. And we're in a little bit of a bind that we're considered the winter road patrol, canceling that, but found some sources of income to cover that for this season. But inevitably we've got to do something. I believe Rose is also thinking about trying to find some grant money somewhere. She couldn't be here tonight. But just wanted to get that out there that, you know, we'd like to try to help in some way, shape or form, but we're going to be in need of funds and so on. That's about it that I have. You have any questions for me?
I have a quick question. I don't know if it's so much a question, Marty, as much as I think that that type of project, one, is a good project for the park, the community in general, from an accessibility to the lake standpoint. And I realize there's some key expense, but like that adaptability clinic, we could do a lot more events if we had that type of accessibility. I think some of this might qualify for a community foundation grant, but what I'm wondering, as we're thinking through the spending plan, some support toward the project, and maybe the deliverable for Lake Max Association is to oversee the project with the park, work with Crystal to figure out maybe potential cost and what resources might be there, whether it's a foundation grant with a match, or, and is the cost that they're looking for us to help with the accessibility on the shoreline, or this dock idea that Ed was discussing, maybe coming up with a project oversight, some research into the grant side of it, and see how we might be able to potentially help. I don't know if it falls under CRC, but to me it would be a benefit to the community and perhaps even the TIF district along that main street that accesses the park. And that type of event would draw, and they already draw a lot of people to this event that wouldn't normally come to our park, maybe, which I think is a good thing from a tourism standpoint and economic development standpoint. It's unique to Culver that we have that event, and it's a very popular, successful event, especially for the ADA population in the region. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of throw some support behind it, and also, if Lake Max Association is willing to kind of oversee it, work with Adventure Sailing, with potentially a grant resource and us in the park, it would be worth investing in and looking into.
Thanks, Jane. John, thank you. And for my own thoughts, for whatever they might be worth, I know we invested in the Beach Lodge in order to make that 80. So there's some precedent of this body supporting that type of project. I did get some initial read on the adaptive ski clinic because I asked some questions because they were out on the lake all day. I don't know if where you were volunteering that day or just observing, but
They're out a long time, both
they
days.
I was there both days for the last several years, all day long. Yes,
Yeah.
it's a long time.
It is a long day, and what I understand is they came in from all over to participate. A lot of people from outside of town. So maybe there is some basis from an economic benefit standpoint. And the other thought I've got is the Vodka grant, which is specific to Lake Max, and this would definitely fit into that too. So, so good. Thank you very much.
May I offer a couple comments
Oh,
quickly
please.
on this?
Please.
My name is Jim Heiss, 2388
Yes.
Eagle Lane.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Just and I apologize, I may have missed it. I may be saying something that's already been said before, and if so, just cut me off. I really think that it would be super helpful to get all of the key stakeholders that you would utilize this potential facility that we're talking about here. The folks from RHI have already volunteered either either some physical therapists or OTs from their staff, or perhaps even some of their clients that participate in the program that would understand firsthand how various devices and that sort of thing would work and benefit or not benefit, or would be a challenge to them. And I think the adventure sailing group has a real vested interest in this thing and could help that program continue to grow and continue to support the park. So I guess my suggestion is we could, put together a little task force or something like that to really look at the different options of what we might do. And maybe have a few alternatives and come up with the best one. I think could be a good use of time.
You'd include the park and the town in that.
Absolutely.
I love that idea.
Yeah, and for that access from the park area down to that sidewalk. I mean, that's kind of like why we didn't do that before, but that would be help in so many different ways for people that utilize that area. So I think that's a great idea too.
I was gonna say, back when we were looking,
Brand.
Craig Hilgren with Marshall County Economic Development, when we were looking at ready projects, we looked at ADA projects around the county, and that was a big one because that area of the park is, anybody with mobility issues, it really is a hindrance to getting up and down through there. I mean, walkers, just people that don't have the mobility they once had. And it was into the top of the list of things that the county would like. Unfortunately, Ready changed their KPIs, and they were no longer looking for projects like that, but it was one we considered.
Still got it into the list. All right, so what you will convene, Jim, thank you.
Can I just say something to kind of give it just a quick history of where we started with this? So with adventure sailing, we've kind of gone with the park and talked to them a lot. And I know the biggest reason that things got cut off is because change of employment and things like that. So we understand. But what we've been trying to do is just get this group together to come up with a budget. So then we know where we can get, if we're going to get some funds here and there, that's great. But just allow us to then fundraise for the rest, because we know Braun has shown some interest. The RTI has shown some interest. We've had some supporters of Max Tech Adventure Sailing that have kids that could benefit from this. And so there's a lot of people, but we just haven't got it all together. We did have a meeting this spring with some of the parties, with the town, with the park, with Crystal at the Park. I'm sorry, is Kevin, who's the
Town manager.
manager? That's percent amendment, my apologies. Myself and Rose. And so that was kind of the start of it, but then it kind of stopped when summer got here. So if there's a way we could get this group together with specific goals to, one, get the funding sorted. That's why I went after what the cost would be for the dock. We do need an anchor point, which is going to be a big investment because it can erode. And then we do need the part that takes that wall down going into the park, because if you don't have that, then you have people stuck on the dock, so it's kind of it's not an all or nothing, but it kind of has to go together. Like the wall could come down first and then you can get people into that, but maybe that could happen. And then while the pier foundation is being done, but anyways, I'm happy to be involved. And I work in the marine industry all over the US, so I have some contacts, like I said, that can get us to the right people.
Good.
And then these 88, like Braun Ability, I know Craig Scrimshire is from here, and he said they want to help, but they don't necessarily want to be involved, if that, so to speak, which is fine. So anyways.
So I don't want to have a working session on it today.
Right.
But thank you. There's obviously a breadth of interest in it, and we'll convene the group and you'll be with us. So we'll figure out a plan. I understand exactly what you're saying with regard to the difficulty in getting it going, and our commitment to you as we get that going.
I agree, is awesome.
Yeah, I don't know where we wind up, but we'll get it. Thank you. Any other thoughts? Welcome. Just observing today. Back row. Ken? Thank you. All right, wonderful. All right. I didn't get a lot of feedback from other stakeholders, I guess it's a little early for them, or they're still putting their thoughts together. Do you have any initial thoughts? Anybody on this group?
I think it's a good idea.
On
Any
this,
general,
yeah.
yeah, just general focus areas.
Yeah. But it's been a year, and I like kind of the direction we went with it before. But things like this help to kind of narrow in, and if there was, somebody mentioned something about a safety or security area too. I think that was part of our plan last year, I'd like to see that continue. I
Yep.
haven't heard anything, you know, you hear all this stuff about what's happening with the movie theater, those kind of things. Nothing specific for our spending plan.
Okay, very good. Good. Sally?
I don't see a number of business persons here, but I know that the downtown businesses are interested. I don't know exactly what be the appropriate thing, but that needs to be investigated and a portion set aside to fund any either repairs or I don't know if we can do that much on infrastructure of the buildings.
Right. Yep. Yep.
'Cause I know a number of them that base have buildings only as good as its foundation. When its foundation starts to go, then you've got problems. And I know we've got a number of buildings that those basements are been there since 1920. If not a little earlier, and probably have seen better days.
Thanks. For those that attend the meeting regularly, you know that we have a standing commitment to the renovation of the Main Street. And where that stands is we've got a request for proposal out with, I think, 4 or 5 potential partners to help design a master plan for that renovation. And it could be anywhere between I call it an extended facade grant program to a full redevelopment, that would be, measurable 10 years and tens of millions, right? It's somewhere on that. Somewhere, on that line is where we'll wind up, and we're going to wind up there together, right? We're going to get the best expertise we can, and then we're going to bring it to you and get all the feedback we can. And then once we can get a consensus, or as close as we can get to a consensus in the town of Culver, then we'll start moving forward on that project. The movie theater is starting to move. It has come out of the estate, and the deed has been taken by the nonprofit that is dedicated to redoing it, renovating it. So that work is beginning with again a study as to what can be done and what it's going to cost and things like that. So that's exciting news. Ginny, do you have anything for us?
With you bringing up the movie theater, Marty, one of my thoughts about potential places for investment, definitely downtown with the renovation project. We don't know what will emerge there. It could be anything from building infrastructure to programming, some potential new types of program. Like we have a facade program. There could be other things that emerge out of that study. But I was also thinking about the movie theater, and I know behind the movie theater is an alley, and there's utilities back there. There have been some issues for the merchants along that stretch. Specifically, I know with sewer and grease traps, restaurants that have had some issues. It's possible that when they go to study the theater, that we potentially as the town look at that alley, talk to Bob and his crew to find out do we need to make an upgrade there while that gets torn up, right? So to me, there's some potential for projects we haven't thought of. We're also talking about the south end of town where we own property where the well is going in, and making that a safer, better intersection. It's more of a transportation sort of feasibility look at that intersection on Davis and Main Street. We obviously have a development going up, and we're going to have more traffic come into town and past Main Street, which is a good thing, but it might mean some investment on our part. And then I know just from all of the conversations with the town that CRC's dollars can go quite a long way when it comes to utility projects. And we already know we've invested in the water plant, which helps in terms of both our businesses and our residents. It's a community-wide investment that CRC can certainly make. And then I really do like projects like what the Lake Max Association has brought before us tonight, because it serves the entire community when we talk about those sorts of projects that our park budget may not necessarily be able to support. So those are just some of the things that are on my mind.
Thank you. I don't know that I have a lot to add other than I think we ought to look at the park. I think there's some potential there for upgrades in the electrical infrastructure there, and the ability to hold performances in that park. As a result, I think we could probably get better use out of the amphitheater there. We made some upgrades to it, gave it some better supports. How about the school? What does the school need?
I'll first put on my visitor center hat and tourism to promote that, as we always have, to maintain that in the budget. And potentially looking at how we utilize that money to best service more organizations than just the visitor center, including the downtown, Develop Culver, and other organizations that want something as a global view of Culver and how we bring tourism and people here. As far as the school, I love our partnership that we have with the park there by school, but it does need some attention overall. Some people have asked for like a pavilion or a shade type structure there for when they do things. I know our building trades is getting ready to help build the well house building, and maybe even a like structure like that at that park. So it would still be like same materials, same cost, but built by our building trades as a partnership. And those types of, so material cost. The field out there where all the youth play soccer, it needs attention. It seems to only want to grow weeds no matter how much we try to do other things with it. And I know we've talked a little bit about putting a well out there so we can irrigate that water at not at a cost to the town, or put a splash pad that the splash pad waters that park, but something needs done at that park area too, and upgrading. So just us looking at that. Those the bathrooms probably need new doors, just because of use. We maintain it, but the overall materials of trying to maintain it is a cost beyond the school's budget. Same thing with the youth league parks, maintaining those. There's been a great partnership so far. As a school corporation, we haven't asked for funding that comes out of that CRC that we could ask for. We've told the youth league and the parks to work on that money with them, and the partnership that we could do with building trades and making some nicer spaces would be a good partnership.
Thanks, Karen.
Yeah.
Okay, any other thoughts? Or we'll move on to the next agenda. All right. Town manager update. He had two things: Main Street renovation project. I think I gave you that update. Hotel feasibility study, status and funding. So again, those who have been with us recently know that we kicked off a feasibility study for a hotel. We were approached actually Greg at the Economic Development Commission was approached for by a firm that does relatively small hotels, 50 room unit hotels in small towns. That's their specialty. They do Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota. They're looking to do some in Indiana. And they came to talk to Greg about Bremen. And Greg said, you should talk to Culver instead. So, so we met with them, and it's fascinating because they don't really care how the hotel gets filled. They just want to know, it gets filled, and they know it's gonna, July and in the summer, it's gonna be full, but they're worried about Tuesdays in February. Who's here, who's gonna stay, what business meetings, right? Sports at the academy is a big reason why there could be support for a facility like that. So, so they do this really interesting data-driven study that we funded, and it came back. This was independent of the hotelier. It was just a marketing firm that specializes in doing studies just like this. And they came back and said, yeah, we think that it could support it. So now it goes on to phase 2. So you start looking at where you would put it, how big it would be, what it would look like, and where we're going to get the money to do it, right? Because the hotel firm will manage it and put up 30%. We got to figure where's the other 70% going to come from. And you think about a project like this being about a $10 million project. So there's going to be $7 million in private money that would have to be found in order to support something like this. So that's where it stands. It's going into phase 2. There's a lot of discussions with the academy because that would be a big driver for the use of it, and they would get a lot of benefit from it, as well as potentially the town. Got to be a little careful about, how. To me, that's like a big step. Culver gets a hotel. Do we want a hotel? Do we want it, and I think some people would wake up in the morning and say, no, I don't want it. There's enough people in Culver. But the people are visiting, they're just staying in Plymouth instead. And they're staying, some of them staying in Warsaw, some of these sports teams that come to the academy are staying in different counties overnight. And we're not capturing the incubator tax associated with that. That would help us. Maintain the quality of life in the town. So it makes some sense to capture that if they're here anyway, right? But they're just staying someplace else. Why don't we capture the economic activity here? So that's kind of where that stands right now. Yes.
So, Katie Llewellyn.
Hi, Katie.
Sure, right. If you want to have a hotel and keep these people staying here as opposed to going to Plymouth, Warsaw, et cetera, we need more restaurants. I'm sorry, Mark Demore. I'm sorry, Brian McCord, but we do. And that may be an idea for the Main Street renovation project, because there are towns that I've been to that are a little larger than this one is. But so it's such a big deal now, this whole foodie thing. Different kinds of restaurants, whether it's sandwiches, there's a place called Postino's where people go and have wine and hors d'oeuvres, and they sit out on a patio and chat, and it's so popular in places. And I'm not talking about bringing chains in here, because it's possible to get entrepreneurs who know about, restaurant ventures. I know of one in Arizona he has the golden touch. Every single restaurant he opens is just a major hit. Barbecue joint, all this kind of stuff. If it's a really good variety, maybe even another breakfast place to go have lunch. A lot of people say, where am I going to go have lunch? So if we want a hotel here and bring in more people, plus the dunes, we need more eateries here. And with Plymouth, I think Plymouth is evolving into being more of an art, antique, consignment shops, and just kind of neat. And they're getting some neat shops and stuff like that. And they have, of course, the Marshall County Historical Society Museum. But even they don't have a bunch of cool restaurants. Culver has those. Also, whether it's something for somebody that just wants to spend $15 on lunch, or somebody who wants to spend 150 on lunch or dinner, everything in between, every type of food. And that might be a challenge to attract people, but I think once they start to come, and especially with renovations that you're talking about in town, it might be a really neat way to get people to come here, even for an afternoon. Oh, we're gonna go over and go to the park and walk around and rent a boat, whatever. Yeah.
It's terrific input. Thanks. Yes.
Paula Yeager, live on Lake Street. Clientele for a hotel, other than the 2 months out of the year, and aren't the restaurants suffering now that are in the area? I mean, there's some good food here, but in the winter months, and other than you're saying sports teams, because the average Joe can't afford even to go to the motel in town. They go to Plymouth and stay. So the whole point is, cost, what they're gonna charge. And in the summertime, it's like, it's too expensive for the average Joe. So that's the whole point, a hotel, and where's it gonna be and what's it gonna look like? And can it be more than 30 feet high?
Yep.
Because of the fire codes.
Yep. All questions that you'll get to weigh in on
Yeah.
and get answers to, it's going to be a very public discussion.
Yeah.
Marty, can I get the name of the person who just spoke? Was it Lake Street? Was it Paula Baker?
Yeager. I know you, Jenny.
Was it Yeager? Is that what you said?
I live behind your in-laws.
Oh, okay. Now I know who was speaking. Sorry, I couldn't hear your name.
Okay.
Is there,
I'm taking notes as secretary. That's why I asked. Thank you.
it's interesting you say that. I was having a conversation with leaders over at the academy, and he was saying to me that I need a restaurant where my employees can eat, right? Can afford to eat. Culver doesn't have that, maybe the root beer stand, they're open, but there isn't that type of restaurant. And Katie was saying we need all kinds, right? And clearly.
Could be a destination of Winona Lake. I don't know, I haven't been over this summer, but they have that one area along the lake there, and there are shops and places to eat and this and that. Out where we go in Arizona, Gilbert, Arizona, was a small farming community. It's just grown exponentially now. What they decided to do was dedicate, being a bigger urban area, of course, but they dedicated 3 full blocks to restaurants. And it is really neat now. And just walking, you go out to your favorite restaurant, and then people just go for a walk, and they're all so different, and none of them is a chain. It's real interesting. So, I've always thought, on a small scale, something like that.
Yep.
Maybe could attract people here and make people who live here happy.
Are there liquor licenses available?
Well, that's a great point.
That's a good
There is a way to do that.
There's
There's
water.
the water, and you can secure those, and that's a great way to attract
Yeah, that's true.
restaurateurs. The town itself can control a liquor license within a block or 2, and then that's how Valpo did their restaurant. They secured a bunch of liquor licenses, through the town, and they then went up to Chicago and talked to sous chefs and said, "Hey, we'll give you inexpensive rent, a liquor license, and a place to set up," and that's why they have the variety they have and different.
Inexpensive rent. There
Yeah,
you go.
inexpensive rent, and then the town rehab the upstairs, and that's an important part of reestablishing downtown is having a disposable income living downtown. And that's, if you go to Valpo and you walk a block in any direction off that main street, there's it's residential. And that's what makes
Well,
it.
I couldn't say that recently, but about a year ago I stopped and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
What's Plymouth? Plymouth has a deal with the liquor license too, don't they?
Yes, they do. They have the river district that has liquor license that the city can hand out, and that's how like Yellow River got theirs that way.
In the Reese.
And the Reese.
The
So,
theater, obviously, I don't know the project there, but from what I heard it was gonna be before all the issues, is that in need of one for what they're,
I wouldn't think so.
which is, I mean, not that we all have to drink, but I know it's a big thing for income for restaurant owners and
yeah.
and things like that.
And then that brings up the whole idea of Adora, a downtown outdoor refreshment area. And where you can carry alcoholic beverages purchased within that area outside and indoor. And it makes it real nice for when you have a festival or a downtown event, that they don't have to set up a booth and get a special license. All the restaurants can take advantage of that. And as long as you buy a labeled container, you can take it out into the street.
Well, and if you have to wait for a table or something, you
Right.
can go walk along the stores.
Exactly.
I'm
Hey,
gonna
Greg,
invite,
is that done through local ordinance? Is that, or is that state code?
That's a local ordinance, is Adora. What you run into is where you can and can't take alcohol. If you allow alcohol, for instance, in Plymouth, the sticking point they're having is that the downtown month of music that the mayor sponsors at the amphitheater, they allow people to bring in coolers. Well, you can't allow people to bring in outdoor open liquor, purchase there. So do you have the door or do you have the outdoor?
it's one or the other.
Yeah. So that, but in Culver, you wouldn't necessarily have that issue.
And then the other question I had on the liquor licenses, so the town could obtain some for specific designated area to avoid the limit? Is that how that works? Like, if we did
Yeah.
something like what Katie's talking about, we could get liquor licenses for a specific block or like two
Right.
block area? Okay.
The downtown area or
Interesting.
uptown.
I didn't realize you could go beyond whatever the limit was for your area, but that makes sense with what Valpo did. So thanks
Outside
for
the
that.
box.
Yeah, and the residential, we're working on that. Culver's done a fine job of keeping the residential area, so I think it's just a matter of getting it teed up and going. Use a golf or which.
Sure.
Great.
Thank you.
Welcome back for the working session. Anything else on hotels or anything else? Liquor licenses, we're gonna move on to the financial report. That July financial report is a real easy one to get through. The only thing we did was spend $1,980 on the claims that we approved last month. So I suppose I should provide the balances, right? So the total cash on hand is $565,302. The expenses year to date, or I should say that's income year to date, right? And our expenses year to date, 266,475.20. The ending balance in the account is actually 1,376,850. Am I saying that right? Karen, thank you very much for putting it together as always. And with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the July financial report.
I'll make a motion to approve the July financial.
Thank you, Sally. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Roll call, Jim?
Yes,
Jenny,
sorry,
can
I
you-
was on mute. Harry Seiler? Sarah Jones? Sally Ricciardi?
Aye.
Marty Oosterbaan? And Jenny is an aye.
Okay, great. So we have an approved financial report for July. We'll move on to approval of claims. We have two claims for approval this month. One is for the banners downtown that we previously had accepted the expense. Now the it's 142.33, and then advertising in the Lakes Magazine, $400 total of $7,542.33. Any questions, any discussion on those expenses?
I just had a question on that one because it says hotel feasibility for the expense account, but it
That was,
advertised,
it's just crossed it out.
okay.
No other questions?
We know you're reading.
I did, I read everything.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to accept the expenses for August.
I'll move to accept. The claims
Thank you.
presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thanks, Jerry. Moved by Sarah, seconded by Jerry. All in favor? No, sorry. Ginny, please.
Sorry, Terry Seiler, Sarah Jones, Sally Ricciardi, Marty Easterbond, and Jenny is an I.
Okay, expenses. Thank you, Karen. Again, to the favorite part of the public input. Any more public input, anything you want to talk about? Gary, you haven't said anything.
Well, sorry, I was a little late. Maybe you discussed this. Question, this is Carrie Cheseldine, 520 South Plymouth. Question about the wayfinding artwork. Is there a refresh plan for that?
Great question. You know, Karen.
I think there's some talk about other wayfinding signs. I believe Kevin's working on that, so I'm not sure what the plan is for those that are on the road.
Anything the visitor center is thinking about?
We have not talked about, we talked about doing a barcode at each business and restaurant that would lead you to another business or restaurant instead of doing something more digital than something roadways. But
Can I ask you to ask that again when Kevin's here
Sure.
next time, or do you,
Yeah, I mean,
do you want me to have Kevin circle back with you on it?
I'll catch him at the next meeting. Town council. It's just wearing out and it's not very attractive. It doesn't bode well for the town if it disintegrates.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other public comments?
One more thing.
Yes, Paul.
Just a question about the courtesy pier. You'd be the one to know. Is that gonna obscure the use of the pier on both sides for motorized vehicles?
If we do the ADA one, no,
Okay, just
no.
curious.
it won't be anywhere near, and we don't want that to.
No, I didn't think so, but when you were talking about it, I thought, oh, wonder. Yeah, okay.
Just quickly, something else that is good for marketing. Is bragging rights on towns more and more that they are, it's not exactly dark sky, but I've been reading more and more and more. And people are starting to do tourism around, and that doesn't mean having dim lights in town or making it unsafe. Lights can really be hooded or pointed down, so there isn't too much haze, light pollution. And Culver is, I think, just on the cusp of, especially with more and more development, it could go either way, depending on how development is done and how lighting, both on buildings, in the park, on the streets, all of it is done. But that really is a big deal to people to be able to say, come to Culver, we've got all this going on. Oh, and check out the stars.
night football game.
Well, that's accepted. I mean, there are some necessary things.
No, I meant stars.
That's true, yeah.
Well, I know that Kevin was having some animated discussions with our developer out there at the dunes
Really?
on the lights. To make
Well,
sure
you
that
know,
the
when
red
we
lights. were
had
working.
those, when we had the Northern Lights, it was, I hope everybody saw it. It was, you probably saw that at your place. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And, but as I'm on the East Shore, as we looked more north towards town in the academy, it was really starting to get blacked out some. Which I understand is normal with or urban development, but it can also be done because I know other towns have done it where they are really conscious of probably.
Oh, yeah, a lot of cities have dark sky ordinances that, you know, any infrastructure requires dark sky lighting. And what that means is that the top is shielded, they're pointed down, you don't have those just open, you know, Edison bulbs out.
These new LED ones are pretty impressive and
Yeah.
that's what helps.
Yeah.
We
That's
get
the
Plymouth
difficulty
light
of
pollution.
The town here,
That's a really good point. Yeah, you can see Plymouth.
We get Plymouth,
Yeah.
we see Plymouth.
the town
We're at the
here.
top of the
has
hill on
big
the east, you know, off the east shore,
but
and so we
they
see
need more
Plymouth light
safety.
pollution. But we did see the northern lights really well, but you also see, Plymouth really well.
Yes.
And it is, like she said, a bragging point. A lot of cities are saying, you know, dark sky. Well,
It's good that Kevin's talking to those guys about doing the proper lights. But I think they're more efficient as well, so you want.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then a lot of them are motion, you know, so that they're not on all.
And I also happen to know that Kevin's looking at the lighting in the park for the same reason. I mean, it's just,
Can I say something on that?
Yes.
And this just came up because of my wife having walked to the academy to town. So the Indian Trail, which is Culver, but it's the park tees up to it. To walk through there, it's black. Now, I don't know if there's ever been any discussion about the way that path is in the park lit, but could it be extended through to be lit in the, what they call Indian trails through the woods to Academy Road, because that is black. And my wife was like, as a female, I'm not walking through there at night by myself.
you're talking about the paved trail,
Paved trail between basically the beach.
the end of
and
the,
Academy
right, the
Road.
beach lodge and the Academy Road.
Trails. One is trail,
Somewhat
and
paved.
the other is the old Indian.
Right,
Just walking through there, it's pitch black.
I'm sorry.
It's safe
But-
at night.
But they can.
because he was saying the Indian Trail.
That all belongs.
The Indian Trail is paved too. The Indian Trail is that
Well,
kind of wreck
kind
thing
of
that goes
paved.
up, right?
Sort of.
You're not talking
Kind
about
of
that.
paved.
You're talking about the old
The
railroad.
paved,
track.
yeah, whole river. Just if the park is doing something to light their section of it, it'd be great to then encourage Culver, which they should, because they have students that can go, not necessarily at night, but in the winter, I'm sure they might be able to.
Their staff is.
Yeah, and the staff definitely would be allowed to.
Okay.
I mean, even lights that come up from the ground, they don't have to be hanging, you know, they can be like this and kind of low and just to light the path some, that's a good idea. And
And even a
Area
safety
around it.
thing button in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've added a lot of those on campus, even, which is smart. I hope they haven't been used, but having them there makes them hopefully not get used.
But we're sure getting our money's worth tonight.
Right? Shannon, where are you?
Wonderful, yeah.
When you said.
That's all right, I'm taking good notes.
When you said it was gonna be a quick meeting, I said he just.
Yeah, I just ruined it, right? Okay, anything else? Member input, Jerry? Sarah?
No, I think it's great. We have so many people here tonight.
Yeah, it's
With
wonderful.
a lot of input, so I would appreciate you being here.
Our ratings are up.
Yeah.
Oh, I listen on the phone all the time. It's about even more time to go.
Great. Sally?
Am I
any-
able to
I
ask
don't
a
have-
question over Zoom?
Oh, I'm sorry, we have, yes, the answer is yes. Please identify yourself.
Sure. My name is Michael Okram. I have property at 18142 14B Road.
Go ahead, Michael.
My wife and I are considering investing in a few different properties there in town. And so I just had two quick questions. I didn't see it directly answered in the paperwork you guys put out. I haven't seen it in the meeting. So the first one is down on like the 100 block of North Main Street there. When do you guys expect streetscape constructions to begin, and like what specific improvements are you considering? Is it like sidewalks, parking, lighting? Like what are the facade guidelines planned for that section? And then the other question I want to find out is for the facade grant program, is that like 100 block of Main Street? Is that inside any downtown tip allocation area that would affect how future tax increment from improvements is handled? Like what's going on down there specifically?
Let's hit the last question first. I want to make sure I understand. You asking where the facade grants can be requested, what buildings?
Okay, yeah, let's start there. Like for example, like 108 North Main Street. It's a mixed use property.
Okay, Sally, you got it.
It's the old morgue.
Sally's our facade grant expert, so I'm going to ask her to.
Know that I'm an expert, but facade grant will pay up to 30,000,
Mhm.
which it would be 50% of what the business owner put into redo the business. That is for the front sidewalks. It also includes roof replacement and some windows.
What about tuck pointing?
If that would be, I think it would cover that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think we also, didn't we add driveways or parking lots too, Sally?
Yeah,
To the list? Yeah, because we were seeing some of the buildings that are aging that need new roofs, or we had like in by the lake, got a parking or parking lot facade grant. I think Papa's may have done one as well. So that property would qualify under the facade program like the others. You do have to have at least 2 bids when you're,
Right.
bidding out the work. We want to see at least 2, and then we'll give up to 50% of the one you're choosing, up to $30,000 cap. So if you have $70,000 worth of work, we will cover 30,000 as long as the items that we're paying for fit our list. But we've expanded that list over the years. It's not literally just facade. It's, roof, driveway, sidewalk, curb, lots of stuff now.
Also as a
Great.
separate site reimbursement program. Once a year for sidewalks and curbs and aprons going in the driveways that you can get some reimbursement.
A lot of the downtown businesses, for sidewalk, also paving, parking areas, they don't really have parking areas. It's, Main Street, which is covered by the town's paving program.
How we doing, Michael? Are we getting at your question?
Absolutely. And then is there any sort of, did you guys do a study at all on like parking and traffic flow? As I see they're building all these townhomes and we're talking about potentially hotels, and we want to invest and bring in businesses, but will we be able to support more automobile traffic? Is it going to be more golf cart traffic? What are you guys envisioning as you bring in more people into the town?
Well, it's interesting because there was a lot of discussion around traffic when the Dunes project was proposed. And there were particular points, particularly Ohio Street, that we were a little concerned about. What we agreed to do was a traffic study once it was in place and react to that. Because going into it, the thinking was that there's 2/3 of that is our rentals. 1/3, so it's 300 front doors, 200 of them are rentals, 100 would be standalone housing units. The rental housing particularly, we expect to be workforce housing. And so a lot of the question around traffic is you're housing your workforce there. They're already here. They're just going someplace else to sleep at night. If they decide they're going to sleep in Culver, right, renting at the Dunes, that doesn't necessarily increase the number of cars on the street. And so we asked MACOG, which is the Michiana area of Council of Governments, to take a look at this, and they did a preliminary study, and they said for every 10 cars, there would be potentially 2 more because of the Dunes. And And that's on average over the course of a day. Obviously, 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning is going to be different to 3 a.m., but average over the course of a day. So it seemed like something that would be handleable, if not barely noticeable, but we're going to do a study when that's done to see. Past that, Michael, we really don't expect a whole heck of a lot more traffic down from anything that we have on the books right now as far as development goes.
I do want to mention a couple things, Michael, that you might not know from an investment standpoint that the town did make specifically for parking and businesses. So like in downtown Culver, across from the medical building, there's a medical clinic in downtown Culver. It's a block further south. Across the street, the town invested in a parking lot to accommodate more parking on Main Street. So we paid for half, that medical clinic paid for the other half. The other thing that we did years ago to support our merchants' businesses and get parking off of the main drag so their customers could use that parking, we dedicated our parking lot at CVS. We own a good half of the CVS parking lot. It's dedicated to the employees of downtown businesses. They can park there, walk over. So they're not parking in downtown Culver and taking up valuable real estate for those businesses. We also integrated into our zoning all the housing that lives above those businesses. They park on side streets. So they are not supposed to park in front of the businesses, and we monitor for that. But we've dedicated some areas on side streets. So there is some focus on making sure our merchants, our businesses along Lakeshore Drive, if you will, and downtown have what they need in the way of parking. I think CRC may have even foot the bill for that parking lot across from the medical clinic. I can't remember, Sally, if we did that through CRC or through the town council. It's probably been 8-10 years ago. But parking was such an issue for downtown merchants that we thought, okay, that buys us an extra 12 spaces in that lot. And then dedicating the CVS lot to their employees was also really helpful. So I do think the town tries to collaborate and work with local business owners. And I don't know if you were around during COVID, but we rolled out grants and utility relief for all of our businesses during COVID when they were shut down. We knew they were coming out of winter, which is cash poor time for our local businesses. So the town set aside grant dollars, not loans, but basically here's some money to keep afloat. And we really streamlined that process. I think we conceived of it, and 2 weeks later we were cutting checks for those business owners. And then we also had a utility relief program they could sign up for, which basically I think gave them 3 months of not having to pay their sewer water bill, just to get them through the period of time before PPE loans came out and that sort of thing. So I think we take some pride in collaborating with our business owners and trying to make it possible for them to be successful.
I love that. That's what we're looking for. Does the library have any sort of like intergovernmental agreements with you guys where people can use parking when they're not there, which would be, we're talking about adding restaurants and things at night. And then just really quick, the liquor license part, I wasn't clear on that. Are you saying that there will be more liquor licenses available because you guys found a workaround for certain sections? Was that the takeaway there?
I think that is dependent upon the town council and their willingness to entertain that ordinance.
Yeah, and we don't have an interlocal agreement with the library. We have found them to be very flexible, though, when it comes to downtown events and that sort of thing. And oftentimes they participate in those. and will open up their parking lot. But we haven't had to have anything informal. It's more like a handshake versus a formal interlocal agreement.
Great. Thanks for your time, guys. I really appreciate it. I know it's been a long meeting.
Yeah. We got an investor, man. We want to talk to you, so don't worry about it. Michael, what I would suggest you do is take a look at the comprehensive plan for the town. It's just been redone. It's on the Town of Culver website, townofculver.org.
And the facade grant is also.
Yeah, you'll find the facade grant information and what the Main Street renovation is focused on the 3-block area. We call it the Osborne block, and then 1H block from there. But as part of this, what Ginny called it Papa's the Pinders. So at the root beer stand turn of the park on the north end, all the way to the housing development on the south end where the Pinders restaurant used to be, we want to look at every structure. I was trying to think. Business, home, every structure along that route and come up with some idea long-term what should happen with that structure and in that area. And because we think we need to rethink some of the zoning that we do. That doesn't mean that we're going to be working that entire area all at once, but we're going to start looking at the long-term what we would like to see there. And start moving in that direction. Okay, so without further ado then, any other member input? Karen, you got anything?
I'm good.
Karen, you got anything? Ginny?
Oh, wait, I put a link to the comprehensive plan and to the facade grant in the chat for Mike.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
Yeah,
So
and
Mike-
I was just going to mention that our clerk did a really great facade program report for the CRC that shows the investments we've made the last 10 years with local businesses who do the facade grant. It used to be that grant was only up to $10,000, but as we saw needs increase with some of the aging buildings, we bumped it to $30,000. And there are several businesses that have leveraged that, and you re-qualify after a 5-year window. So for example, Lake House did a lot of work on their restaurant with facade grant and then qualified again 5 years later, did some more work. So we're open to it being more than a one and done type of situation. And we've definitely seen businesses make improvements. Karen, who's the clerk, sitting to the right of the view that you and I have, can send you a report on that. It's kind of interesting to see where the investments have been made.
Anything else, Jenny? Okay.
Yes,
Anything
sir.
else?
Oh, I did want to say I really appreciate the audience and all of the creative and wonderful ideas coming to us from other communities. It gives us a lot to think about, and it's very inspiring. So I appreciate those who participated.
Thank you. Anything else from the ether? Okay. All right. Then without further ado, let's entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move adjourn.
Right. Sarah moves to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay. Ms. Ricciardi seconds. I don't think we need a roll call for this. All in favor?
No.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.